In an ever-evolving digital landscape, for your business to thrive, you must adapt or die. Welcome to Marketing in the Age of AI, the podcast helping you harness the power of AI and marketing tools to revitalize and grow your business. And now here's your host, marketing expert and author of Authentic Marketing in the Age of AI, Emanuel Rose.
Well, welcome to this episode of Marketing in the Age of AI. Today we got Bert TerHart, a distinguished expert in digital marketing and AI integration. Bert brings a wealth of experience, having successfully guided numerous brands through the complexity of modern marketing strategies. His insight into how AI can enhance customer engagement and drive business growth are invaluable. Join us as we explore the transformative power of AI in marketing and discover actionable strategies to elevate your brand in this dynamic environment, and learn a little bit more maybe about Leadbrain.ai. So let's dive into this and welcome Bert to the show. Thanks for taking time to join me today.
Oh, it's my pleasure. I've been looking forward to speaking with you, Emmanuel, ever since we had the little pre-interview. There was it was hard enough just to pick a topic. So
For
there's
sure.
so much. Yeah,
Maybe next time we'll talk about fly fishing instead of AI. How about that?
yeah. So there's so much ground to cover. There's so many rabbit holes.
Yeah.
So, but I've been looking forward to it because we were able to touch on a few things that are profoundly changing the digital landscape and how businesses speak to their customers. And it's a wonderful time to be in tech like this. But as we were saying just a few minutes ago, it's like the birth of the internet, and then it's like the birth of search engine, then it's the birth of YouTube. So
Yeah.
so we're witnessing this complete revitalization of the complete digital marketing landscape.
Yeah, and the tools that we have at our disposal, you and I could only dream of when we first
Mhm.
became professionals, right? You look at the amount of data that we have access to. You know, arguably too much data and ineffective data at sometimes, but we can see how effective a campaign is. Just the email reports that we can see
Yeah.
now, and then building triggers off of that, and the automations, and much less these tools that'll do some thinking on our behalf. So it's pretty amazing.
Well, I think you've brushed. I mean, there's so much ground. I mean, of all the things that you said there's so much there to unpack. But one of the things that one of the really key points that you alluded to was the fact that there's so much data. Some of it, of course, is not useful, but there's so much data that helps you completely pinpoint, or say completely characterize your ideal customer, which is crucial to understanding if you want to succeed in it. You have to identify who you're selling to. And
Yeah.
before that was hit or miss. You put something in a newspaper, for example, and hope that somebody that might be interested in your product or service would see it. Well, we don't live in that world anymore.
No.
And AI has completely changed the way that you can formulate an idea and a perspective of who your actual ideal customer is, because there is so much data out there that is so granular that would help you identify who those people are, or who that audience is. And one of the beautiful things about AI is one of the mantras of my life, basically, or anyone's life, I would imagine, is if you ask a good question, you'll get a really good answer. And
Yeah.
if you get good at prompting, you're basically just learning how to ask really good questions of this very, very, very smart individual that lives on the other side of the computer screen. So it's an unbelievable tool for doing the very thing that you talked about, which is firstly identifying good data versus bad data, and then really being able to lean into that data to discover some things that would be vital to how you move forward. Firstly, as a business, and secondly, on a digital landscape.
Yeah, well, what do you think are the most significant changes that you've observed with the GPTs that are available at retail level for all of us over the last, say, 6 months? I mean, what have you observed?
Well, I think there's in the last 6 months, an explosion of how unbelievably useful it is. So let me give you an example. I think when GPT first came out, it was like, okay, I'm a general contractor, and I'm able to build a garden shed, which is pretty exciting. Everyone wants a garden shed. It's pretty cool
Sure.
to have one built for you automatically with a couple keystrokes.
Yeah.
But now, because this explosion of prompts, you can buy prompts, you can learn how to prompt. Now, instead of building a garden shed as a general contractor, now you can build a 100-story skyscraper. You can
Right.
use the entire infrastructure, everything about it, the fire escape, the safety plan, everything about it is completely and utterly identified and characterized, and can complete in every way, shape, or form with just GBT, that with just the retail version. So if there's any kind of infrastructure that you want in your business, and I talked about using it for your ideal customer, but you can do it to to do things like you can have it architect entire email campaigns. You can have it architect the entire books. You can have it architect scripts for YouTube. So you can have it architect the automations for customer retention and customer loyalty. So there's nothing that you can't build with this. What I mean by our buildings or any, well, the analogy I used was a building. So the most complicated building you can imagine, you can build with ChatGPT. But that infrastructure is nothing more than an empty building. You still have to be there to turn that into a usable space. You're the
Yeah.
interior decorator. You've got to go in there and take this infrastructure and then flesh it out so it's actually useful. Like, a building is not useful until you turn it into a condo or a retail space with a store, or you turn it into office space. But
Yep.
the ability to architect the infrastructure that every business needs with GBT is striking. And that's what's happened in the last 6 months. People realize I don't have to use it to answer simple questions or, in essence, build a garden shed. I can ask it unbelievably complicated questions, and I'll end up with like a 100-story skyscraper.
Yeah, and for instance, we use it on a monthly basis to look at our email newsletters, both the
Mhm.
clients and prospects, and say, all right, here are the 10 factors that we think are important on the email. The time of the day, the subject, the what type of content, those things. And we say, here's all the emails. How can we make these better so we get a better click through rate,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And then we get back this information about best practices, and it scan the internet and done whatever it's done, and then we say, yeah, it gives us a list of 10 things. 5 things we think are solid, 5 we
Mhm.
don't. We focus on the 5 that are and use that as the test.
Yeah. So here's another good example of how we use it in the clinical field. So we know we have ChatGPT listen to the conversations that a doctor is having with a patient, because a doctor used to sit there and scribble notes.
Right.
So it listens to that conversation, and then transcribes it, and then puts it into something like a document that's actually readable. So then it's good for the doctor because he doesn't have to scribble notes. It's good for the office medical assistants because they don't have to interpret what the doctor's scribbling, and he's not just
Yeah.
talking to a tape recorder. And then we take that transcript, because we know we talked to that patient and we know something about that patient because we have a history of that patient, in the same way that you have a history of these newsletters.
Yep.
And some patients might be vegan. Some patients might be maybe they're on a particular drug with particular side effects. So whatever, the list goes on and on and on, as you can imagine. So we take the conversation that the doctor had with the patient, and then we get it, and then and that we take that conversation, we run it through ChatGPT with a prompt that knows something about the doctor, and then a ton about the patient. And then we give those doctor's notes in the form of a diagnosis tailored to every single patient in the clinic.
Wow.
And we have we in the clinic, we see something like 600 to 800 people a day, and the notes are specific to the treatment, to the diagnosis, to the prognosis, and then finally to that particular patient. So what we're trying to do, in the same way that you're trying to get newsletters that are that are more effective. We're trying to create compliant patients, because the more compliant they are, the better the better the outcomes.
Sure.
And we're creating compliant patients by using ChatGPT to talk to them, because we know exactly what they want. Some patients are concerned about side effects. Some people don't care. Some people are concerned about what they're eating, and some people don't care. Some people are really concerned about comorbidities, for example. So then that letter, that the conversation the doctor had, is then reformulated in a way, firstly, like that patient will understand, and the things that they want. And again, to differentiate again, some patients are actually PhDs. So you talk to those people differently than you
Right.
would talk to someone who doesn't have a PhD. So we
Sure.
use it in this incredibly granular way, in the same way that I described about getting looking at your ideal customer. We're using it to speak to that patient in a granular way, and in a way that makes sense to them, not in a way that makes sense to the doctor. Because
Yeah.
sometimes talking to the doctor is like, I don't know, talking to a wall. So there's one way that we're just using GBT to have these really, really focused conversations with clients to improve outcomes, in the same way that you could do the same sort of thing to improve open rates on emails.
Yep. So the question that I have is, so when we first started interacting with this year and a half, 2 years ago, it would produce about C minus work, right? And it'd
Right.
take a lot of input in order to clean it up and make it on brand, on point,
Mhm.
whatever the issues were. What are you seeing as far as the output now in this medical situation, for how much care and feeding the answers need from the medical professionals?
Yeah, you're exactly right. It used to be C plus or worse. So we used to get a lot of hallucination,
Yeah.
or hallucinating from these responses, but that's been cleaned up
Yeah.
totally. Some of it's
Yeah.
on our half, or our on our end of the stick, by being very careful about our prompts. So the prompting is this iterative process.
Yeah.
So we've been iterating through these prompts. Some of the prompts are in the order of, I don't know, maybe between 750 and 1,000 words. But we didn't start there. But you keep refining that prompt to move the output from something like C plus to A.
Yeah.
But the underlying engine now, the underlying agent with or engine with those original prompts would produce something like a B plus output. You still need to have somebody vetting, and
Always.
and
Yep.
and and and, and making sure that it's not just making stuff up. But the outcomes, like the engines, have gotten way, way, way better. There's no comparison, and that makes sense too, because it's AI. It's you're asking it to do something, it does it, and you don't like it, it learns from that. So that's the
Right.
whole point of it, right? So I'd be concerned if the output went from C minus to an F. Then it's like it's artificial intelligence, but I'm
That
not
would be
sure.
bad coding.
Yeah. I'm not sure how smart. Exactly right. Exactly right.
Yeah, no, I agree. I love it because there's two dynamic systems at play, right? There's the humans
Yep.
learning how to drive the machines better, and the machines are learning and dynamically integrating. So it's been amazing to watch that. The other question I have is, how are you maintaining HIPAA compliance in that situation? Are you encrypting? Are you air gapping? What's the security for HIPAA?
Well, it depends. It depends on the country. So here in Canada, we don't have quite the same rules, but in the United States, we have, obviously, we have HIPAA constraints. So we're ensuring that we are encrypting things uh, in every way that we possibly can. So we're not
Yeah,
air gapping in that context. We don't want to make it too complicated, because there isn't anything. Well, I guess as DeepSeek has just shown, there's ways to get around just about everything, right?
for
So
sure. Yeah.
so we're not killing ourselves in that arena. We're we're asking we're asking what the powers that be want, and giving them that, and not anymore, because that would just make our life more complicated.
Understood. But so just through encryption, you're able to
Correct.
provide the security you need.
Yeah. Yeah.
Gotcha. That's cool.
Yeah.
Well, I do want to talk about Lead Brain because I think you guys are totally on point with the
Hmm.
product, obviously, and um, just talk a little bit about the who your ICP is, and what benefits you're bringing those people.
Well, basically, the ICP for us is a local business. So that business has a clientele or customer base that's geographically limited or
Uh-huh.
constrained to an area nearby. So and and they have typically anywhere from 5 to 25 employees. And I have a soft spot in my heart for small business. My father ran a small business. I saw how hard he worked, and I understood firstly the two things from that was that as a small businessman, he had to meet his customers where they were. They never came to him. It was
Right.
an, I grew up in an oil town.
Okay.
So he had to meet his customers where they were, and it had to be immediate. There was no fooling around. And the other thing was that he was always worried that his next customer would be his last. His next client, this next job would
Sure.
be my last
Yeah.
client. It plagues every small business. So um, I I decided I would do something that fundamentally addresses that question of is this customer my last customer? And in the small business place where my like my father. So the idea of Lead Brain is very simple. We ask the question, who do I buy from? We ask that question online. Like we just don't go to the street corner and shout it or stand on the street corner of the sandwich board, take
Yeah.
my money. We we do that. We ask that question online. And if you have a business that is not in front of that, if a business is not in that conversation immediately, then there's no hope of that business attracting that customer.
Right.
So you ask the question online, whether it's on that doesn't matter what search platform, because there's more than one search platform. Your
There's hundreds
customers
now.
are now in many different places. It's not just one place. So
Yep.
you ask this question digitally all over the map. They still have to be, the customer or the business still has to be in the top of those results, the top of the search results. If you're not in the first three, then there's no hope for you in terms of attracting that business. So what LeadBrain does, it effectively places that business, our client, in that conversation directly. It just plants them directly in front of that train or that conversation, if you will. That happens when the customer says, "Who do I buy from?" And they look and they go, "Oh, you," which is you being our clients. And it's search engine stuff. It's just straight up search engine optimization, and you can leverage AI to help you answer that question firstly on any number of platforms, and you can use AI to help answer that question in a very profound and relevant way, so that there's no doubt that the person asking the question, "Who do I buy from?" There's no doubt in their mind that I'm buying from this guy, from A, from this business. So it's like all things that are well, I like it because it's very elegant. It's a very simple thing to understand. It's a very simple thing for me to explain to potential customers. This is what we do. This is how we do it. I'm not saying it's an easy thing to accomplish by any stretch of the imagination, but the idea, but what it does is elegant and simple, and the concept is elegant and simple.
And so, are you? Is it actually integrating like voice as well as email and texting and those sorts of things? Or where
Yeah,
are you
it's
at on that?
it's 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 everything. So we use AI and automated workflows to answer really relevant. So AI knows everything about this business more than any salesman, because it's able to integrate it all on the fly. So
Yeah.
the AI that we're using is very, very finely tuned to a particular business. So in the context of the question you asked, so we can, if someone asks a question, a generic question, say on Facebook Messenger or Instagram on a DM, or whether they're doing this on Twitter, or whether they're doing it in YouTube, or whether they're doing it on Google, it doesn't matter. We have we have workflows in AI that answers these questions, even on the phone. You can call, you get the same thing.
Right.
And just there isn't a question that a potential customer can ask that isn't going to get answered in a very um, human way, because it's properly tuned, and they're going to answer those questions very well. So if you ask a good question, you're going to get a very good answer. But we're doing it all with automation and all with AI. So for a small businessman, it's like just the world has changed. So when you need a new roof, or your toilet breaks, or you need something wrong with the driveway or the house, or it doesn't matter. Any business, any service that you're going to consume locally, when you need it, you call, and sometimes you call at 3 in the morning.
Yeah.
Because we just read it. We live in a world that runs 24/7, 365, and
Yep.
we expect a response. Like it never used to be that way. I mean, but it is now. So if someone doesn't pick up the phone, or someone doesn't answer that DM, or someone doesn't answer that the face, whatever it is, the web chat, the web bot, then you just move on to the next business. Typically what happens, someone makes a phone call, or it's revealing how old I am. You make a phone call, right? You make a phone call, and the first business that picks up the phone gets your money.
Yep.
I mean, it's as silly as that. So I'm just making sure with AI that when we clients get onboarded, that anybody who calls you at 24/7, and no matter how you call on whatever platform, that call gets answered, and it gets answered in a very relevant, complete way. And I mean, that alone is a huge win for small business. I mean, you don't have to worry about, is the phone being answered? Are people? I'm putting stuff on Facebook, but who's react, or who's interested? So offloading all these tasks that are part and parcel of business today, because you don't have a team of IT guys, you don't have a social media manager, you don't have all these things.
Right.
It doesn't matter, because you can pick up all those necessary tasks with AI and automation.
No, that's amazing, and it solves one of the primary things that I think often gets overlooked, which is the speed to lead, and that
Yes,
you have
yes.
you have less than 5 minutes to get back to somebody, or that lead's going to disappear
Yeah.
essentially. Yeah.
Yeah, it's speed to lead. You're exactly right. And if you
Yeah.
if you don't make it, they just go somewhere else. And
Yeah.
you have to understand that it's not a level playing field. None of this matters about how good you are at your job.
Right.
All that matters is that you can be seen. And if you can't be seen, or in the case of speed to lead, you can't be heard, they just go somewhere else.
Yeah.
And it's very, very frustrating for people who are really good at what they do. They are, and they know they're good, and they have everything. They have all the social proof, everything that would give you some faith and confidence that they're good, but that doesn't matter. Like, it's
Right.
almost irrelevant.
Yep. No, that's just the cost of entry to the
Yeah,
dance, basically.
yeah.
So, well, I love the product. It's very complete in terms of all the areas of the marketing landscape, and all the way to the website and the funnel building, which really is the
Hmm.
challenge for say marketers who are inexperienced, or business owners who are looking to do their own marketing. So it's a brilliant product, and I'm glad that you built it.
Well, I mean, it's we talked about this earlier as well. I mean, this stuff, it came into the consciousness, basically, of small business and digital marketing in terms of AI, maybe 18 months ago, but it's been with us for a very long time. I mean,
Right.
Google searches, when it first came out, was just really dumb AI, but we've been swimming in a virtual sea of AI ever since someone dreamt up, they could put an autopilot on an airplane. And we
Right.
just don't, it's around us all the time. We suddenly gave it a trendy name, scared everybody, because oh my God, Skynet has finally arrived, and they're looking for Arnold Schwarzenegger to fall out of the sky in the back alley. but
Yeah.
but
Well,
it's been around a very long time. You know this as well as I do. It's just been around a long time. Now that it's got a bit of traction, and it's like this giant ball rolling downhill.
yeah, and it's interesting to see all the iterations that have come out. Even just in like the last 3 months, in terms of kind of lookalike products to what you're doing. The reliance now on Perplexity and other answer and shopping engines.
Hmm.
Like there's just this really fascinating shift. Just when you think things can't get any more fragmented, then
Yeah.
they get more fragmented.
Yeah. Well, I think one of the things it's a double-edged sword. This is a real boon. I think it has lowered the barrier to entry to really, really, really powerful tech to almost zero.
Yeah.
So that if you're willing to engage, if you're willing to engage with it in any context, you're going to get really, really, really good results. But there's a couple of problems. One is that what I call the Field of Dreams problems from the Kevin Costner movies, that if you build it, they will come.
Right.
Like that's untrue. It's a
Sure.
fallacy. Go
Yeah.
way back when we thought you'd build a website and suddenly everyone would be landing on it, but that's just not cool. That just isn't the way it works. So
Yeah.
just because you're using AI doesn't mean that it's doesn't mean it's going to solve all your problems. You still have to have someone who knows how to actually turn it into a marketing machine, and that takes marketing savvy, and that also doesn't just drop out of the sky. So you
No,
have
for
this.
some of us, it took us 30 or more years to figure it out.
Yeah, of course, because it ain't easy.
Right.
If it'd be easy, be rating whiskey. Not so it just ain't easy. It's not supposed to be easy,
Right.
but
Yeah.
it is a huge plus. It is a huge win, and as a result, because the barrier to entry is so low, then you're going to see some of the products that come out, or some of the services that are going to be delivered, are going to be suboptimal. They're not
Sure.
going to be great. But
Yep.
that's the way of the world. That hasn't changed very much. But my point is, you still have to marry this incredible technology with someone who knows how to use it. So I could sit in the you or I could sit in the seat of the most sophisticated fighter airplane in the world,
Yeah.
and heaven forbid what would come of that, right?
No, nothing. I probably wouldn't
Yeah,
even know how to turn it on or shut
yeah.
the hatch.
Well,
Right.
heaven forbid I'd know how to turn it on, right? That's
Yeah. Right.
and start. But it's this incredible, amazing piece of technology. I can't
No,
wait.
I agree. And I think what I'm hearing again is we have to have a very specific use case in order
Yes.
to be able to find a solution for something that's a pressing problem, not
Mhm.
just start to use it and then see where it takes you, because it's going to you're going to go down a rabbit hole.
Yeah. So you've made another really really good point, and that is, again, if you ask a good question, you're going to get a good answer.
Yeah.
So you like when you in your words, you got to get a good use case. So you have to know exactly what you're looking for. And if you don't know exactly what you're looking for, then you're going to get nothing useful in return, because you have no idea, what's going to come back, whether it's relevant or not. So you and it's and uh, GBT or any of the AI is really really good for refining the questions that you should be asking,
Right.
and you can use that again as in an iterative way, and you can get AI to tell you what to give you what is a really good question, and that's
Right.
probably the first place you should ask. That's probably how you should be approaching it. Let me use this incredible technology so that I can create really good questions, or find really good questions, and then get really good answers. So I think that's a really important distinction to make. You have to understand what the use case actually is.
Yeah, and then I agree with you about prompt writing. I have resources on my website for prompt writing, and
Yeah.
I wrote a book about prompt writing that probably need to look at again and make sure it's up to date with as much as things change. But to me, that's the secret. That's how you get, you use AI first, write good prompts, stay in the loop, iterate, and manage your KPIs, and continue to
Hmm.
make it better.
Hmm. Well, I think it is. Well, I guess in general, of course, it's a really good tool. And there are with any tool, you need to use it wisely. Otherwise, it's not of any use to you.
Yeah.
But this idea, and you spoke to it again, and I've sort of talked to it a couple times. You have to. I think people who are just new to it, or just starting out with it, need to understand that this is an iterative process. You don't ask it once. You have to keep asking. You have to keep refining, keep asking, keep
Yeah.
refining, keep asking, keep refining, and then you'll get something really good. And so there's some effort involved in that, and you have to be, like anything else that's worth doing. You have to be prepared to spend a little time and effort to get a result that you can really use. This isn't AI, as good as it is, just isn't just a one and done thing. You have to engage with it like you would have to engage with any useful tool. So you've talked about iterating, and I've talked about iterating. So maybe the people that are listening might get the idea that iterating is going to be part and parcel of the process.
It is. Yeah, there's two things. One is I want to use it as a leverage to free up time so that I
Hmm.
can spend more time outside, fly fishing, running my bird dog, whatever. So I get some time back. And then the other thing is I want it to be able to do good work and be able to have these warehouses of knowledge that I can then go call upon easily
Yeah.
to use it again.
Well,
Right.
I know you talked about funnels, for example. So let's talk about using AI as a tool to build a website, because it can do that beautifully and very, very quickly. So there might be 300 or 400 rules. I know that when we're looking at optimizing the web presence or the web footprint of a particular of a client that we're onboarding, we're looking at anywhere between 250 and 300 different elements that have to be addressed to ensure that we're just Google compliant. We're actually just giving Google what they want.
Right.
That's really hard, because 200 is a big number, like
Yeah.
250 things. If I said, "Here's your
Sure.
list to do," here, honey, here's your list of things to do, and there's 300 things on it, you're gonna,
Right.
you're gonna. It doesn't sound like fun, right?
Not at
But
all.
that's what's great about AI. Build me a funnel, and you say exactly the niche you're in, what you
Yep.
want it to do. If it's a 1 page, 2 page, 3 page, there's all kinds of things. Ask a really good question. Well, AI knows that there's probably something. There might be maybe 500 to 700 elements in building a proper funnel, from page speed to calls to action to colors to niche to niche specific jargon,
Yep.
everything. And it
Right.
knows all that. It knows more than just about any web designer, because a really good tech guy who's worked building funnels for the last 5 years might know 300. It's still a really big number, but
Right.
it's not 750. So that's why AI is so good at architecting things like funnels and like
Yeah.
websites or like newsletters, because it just knows everything about that thing, right? And
Yeah.
no human knows everything about everything, where these large language models do.
I love it. Well, Bert, you and I, we need to get on a river somewhere around a
Yes.
campfire and have
Yes.
a real conversation.
Yeah.
I really appreciate your time, and thanks for sharing that some time this afternoon with me.
Well,
Have,
it it's been my pleasure, and I've been looking forward to this conversation for a long time. And I hopefully have some other ones by a fireside. We haven't talked about fly fishing at all, other than to hint at it, which is what you have to do, with your wife. You got to hint at
yeah.
fishing, so you can
Yeah,
go. But yeah, that would be fantastic, and I've enjoyed every minute of it. Like I said, I've been looking forward to it, and for me, it hasn't been a disappointment. So I want to thank you for the invite and for the opportunity.
absolutely. And we'll have a link to Lead Brand and your LinkedIn profile. Any other contact that you want us to get in there for you?
Well, I think if people want to know more about me and the business, all the things that we're into and all the rabbit holes you can dive into with respect to my own travels through the landscape, it would just go to bertterhart.com, and
Cool.
that's going to point you to to social media, to obviously to LinkedIn, to LeadBrain, and all these other sorts of things. So um, that would be that would be one rabbit hole to go down, but certainly LeadBrain or LinkedIn would suffice, I'm sure.
All right. Well, it's good stuff. Hang out for me while I close this up,
Yeah.
and we'll check in. All right. Thanks again, Bert.
Okay. My
All
pleasure.
right. Yep. All right. Well, we always rail on the fundamentals, which is getting a good use case, a clear, concise, uh, deliverable, and then massage your prompt writing to make sure that you're going to be able to get something that's actionable out of the software. So it's good conversation with Bert. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did, and look forward.
Thanks for listening to Marketing in the Age of AI. Be sure to subscribe wherever you heard this podcast so you never miss a future episode. Your copy of Authentic Marketing in the Age of AI is available at Amazon.com or EmanuelRose.com. You can also connect with Emanuel on LinkedIn. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you next time.